been a crazy couple weeks. It's December 12th at the time of recording this, so we're just coming off the tail end of Black Friday. We got the classic lull after BFCM 5, and now I think a lot of our accounts are really pulling out of the hole or just continuing to scale business as usual. So yeah, let's talk about what's going on post BFCM 2025.
Yeah, so we're back on some of our bigger accounts and we're back on the chats as well. It's like you mentioned, it's been a really eventful couple weeks from account breakages to BFCM kind of looking much different than, at least for us, like than we expected. I don't really have a sentiment on if it's positive or negative. It's just different this year. Really strong sales on Thursday, which is interesting. Like normally Thursday is more of a heat up day for a lot of our brands, and then Friday's when it hits. Like we saw almost as strong of sales on Thursday as we did on Friday. And then huge drop off after Cyber Monday. Probably record lows, record BFCM slump. So that tells me that consumers are, as we were projecting, waiting for the deal, and then as soon as that deal's over, those buying patterns slow. I think it's just a reflection on the economy, how people are feeling about their income and where they're at. So that to say the least, it was a doozy, but we're through it and have a lot of insights from it. I think biggest takeaway, which we could talk about today, is just like for me is rethinking account structure and how we're approaching that as we look towards 2026.
Yeah, I think let's just jump right in and talk about account structure. And I know that we had a pretty large account breakage. I don't know if that's something that you can talk about here, but I think it would be interesting because you just went through the process of building a really high spend ad account. So what does the
Yeah.
rebuild look like?
So I'll give you a little bit of context as well, because we actually have two accounts that we're fully rebuilding right now that are high spend accounts, multiple seven figures a month. And we knew kind of mid November or early November that the right move is to we have to rebuild these accounts. We need to, meaning we need to consolidate the data streams. We need to stop trying to segment by product category as much as we were, even though we want to, and we want to have those independent lines of business. That algorithm, and we've kind of skirted this for a while on these brands because they have very specific business objectives for these product verticals, right? Different targets, different
Yeah.
customer cohorts. So it wasn't like we could just do what Meta says and put it all in one campaign and optimize the creative. And we've done really well by having more controls over our category levers. However, there's a shift. I think everybody noticed it end of October, early November. People were calling it Andromeda, which actually happened earlier in the year. I just think this was another release of that. In addition to that, there were a ton of bugs in November, ton of spend delivery issues, overspend, duplication bugs, a lot of bugs with flex format and creative, and even features getting toggled on that we're not intending to toggle on. So long story short, rebuild was in order. It's just approaching that a week before Cyber 5 is just not what you do on accounts that are spending that much. So yeah, long story short, we've started to rebuild those accounts right after Cyber 5. On one brand, I went to a completely new account. Unfortunately, before Cyber 5, I had the team basically build our dream account structure with all of our top ads from that year in a backup account. And then I ran that backup account at, a few $1,000s a day for a few days just to warm it up, make sure all the ads were active, getting signal, and then we'd shut it off. But I basically said, all right, we're going to clean slate. Like if this were a new account that hadn't been running for years and has all these, media buyers know there's a hodgepodge of campaigns and ad sets and ads and things that can just kind of stay there because they're good enough. They're not great, but they're, you don't want to kill pillars, that are driving a lot of your core business. So anyways, we built the dream account structure. And as a backup, I'm really glad I did because Black Friday, rolls around. Thursday, Friday, extremely strong for this brand. And Saturday rolls around. And about halfway through the day, I noticed that on every single ad set in the account, all of the spend for each ad set is going to one ad in that ad set.
Wow.
And we're talking
Wow.
about ad sets that are the budgets are hundreds of thousands of dollars on the ad set level. And it wasn't doing this on Thursday or Friday. Thursday or Friday, delivery was distributed across 20 to 30 to sometimes 50 ads that we had in that campaign or that ad set, it was even, it was humming. Saturday rolls around and we've got a major problem on our hands because all of our budget is going to like one or two static ads for our Cyber 5 campaigns, and it's not how it's supposed to work, and very frustrating because of course, our meta reps are doing everything they can to try to like figure out the issue and talk to engineering, but like candidly, like we didn't have any official response on what was going on until Wednesday. And this is after the sale. So
Wednesday the following week.
the following week. So it's like
Yeah, so way too late.
real, and it's like, tell me what other financial management platform, because that's what this is, right? Like we're putting millions of dollars into this system and the dashboard and the delivery just doesn't work. And then you mean to tell me that we can spend millions of dollars over 3-4 days before you get back to us with an answer? Like, I don't know. That's candidly, like, that needs to be looked at from higher ups and authoritative forces, because like there's something happening there that I can fundamentally disagree with and I don't think should be going on and should be happening to advertisers or businesses. Like, and that's a whole nother conversation. I know people are working with pretty high power firms to do things about this, but like, yeah, all that to say is I'm, really fortunate we had that backup account built, because I on Sunday decided to deploy that, immediately start scaling up, and then start, doing damage control on our main ad account. But I have to say, it was like trying to fly, a C-17 through an Arctic storm and not knowing where the runway is going to be, and having all of your instruments break, and doing your best to try to crash land a plane on the Hudson, so to say. And I feel like for all things considered, it ended up okay. Like, we got through it. Growth wasn't as strong as we wanted to see. You know, it, it's just kind of, in my mind, unfortunate because it could have been so much better. But yeah, so that's kind of the prequel to like on this other account, really going all in on our backup account, because as soon as I turn that backup account, I'm seeing signal distribution like completely evening, and we're talking on a CBO campaign, tens of thousands of dollars a day, 5 ad sets, each ad set's a core product category, top 10 ads in each ad set, like delivery that just looks, when you look at that dashboard and you're like, oh, there's evenness here, and that's one thing. Like, when you're looking at a big data set or a dashboard, or a ads manager, the first thing I look for is like, is there consistency? Because like when there's consistency in the data flow, like generally it's a pretty healthy account. But if you have some ad sets or ads or campaigns that get a lot and some that get a little, and then some have really high CPA, some have low, like that's to me is a pretty good indication of there being something fundamentally wrong with delivery, or fragmentation or overlap, or just like poor, either poor account structure or, bad delivery on the meta side. So anyways, new account looks beautiful. Everything's consistent. Spend distribution is cohesive. Like, I'm just consolidated into one CBO. And so we ultimately made the decision on Wednesday to start moving, moving spend to what we call our backup account, and trying to scale that as fast as possible while scaling down our main account. And I'm actually very surprised on how fast and easy that process was. It's just, to Meta's advantage, that is a testament to where the action is right now, where the algorithm is right now, being able to spin up a new account really quickly and maintain that level of performance that we were getting even before October, November, within a week, I think is pretty phenomenal. So I'll give it to Meta for that. But it's just the fact that, you can have actual customers that are, spending millions of dollars with you that can't get answers or things resolved in that matter. And granted, we're not the only brand that experienced stuff over Cyber 5. Like, I know a ton of brands, you just go to Twitter and you'll see all the issues. Even personal friends like have had brands that literally just stopped spending on specific days for hours at a time, or other brands where, you know, 80% of the budget will get blown before 9 a.m. on one ad. And it's just, that's not a feature. That's a bug. Let's call it what it is. Like, I don't think
Sure. Yep.
there's any justification for that in marketing, in my opinion.
Yeah, on a 200K budget, you can't spend $180,000 by 5 a.m. It's just, that's not a
Exactly.
feature. There's
Yeah.
not that many people up online and shopping. Yeah, that makes sense. So with the
Yeah.
right account structure, it's nice that with this other account, you were able to scale into a new account so efficiently. But the only reason you had to do that is because you just experienced so many other bugs. And you're right. I mean, no other financial platform or financial instrument operates like a black box with
Yeah.
everybody having different versions of it. It's the equivalent of different financial institutions having different versions of the Bloomberg terminal, and no one knows
Yeah.
what version they have, and you don't know if your version is being tested on. That's basically what's
Exactly.
happening.
That's exactly what's happening. And they're spending our money to do those tests, and that's where
Exactly.
it's
Yeah,
like as if E-Trade, like was suddenly spending clients' money to like test different, investment strategies on their account. You're
totally.
like, wait a minute. No, I'm the investor, like not you. Don't go
Yeah.
test some weird thing with my budget. Like, and yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And it's not, yeah, it's not good for business ultimately.
Yeah, it's funny. People talk about like the Wild West of AI, which we're definitely in. We're still in the Wild West of paid advertising. And I think it really feels like a black box that still nobody has been able to fully open because it's so intricate and there's so many layers. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's anyway, it's tough to unpack.
Yeah, exactly. It's, and doesn't need to be a black box, I mean, it's to the
Yeah.
company's advantage that it is, but I
All
I
right. Well,
have a whole, yeah. Go ahead.
well, we can go super down the rabbit hole there. I think what I want to understand is what the new account structure looked like because this is a huge question for every brand at scale is how do you use Meta to distribute your sales evenly among product categories? What
Yeah.
did you do?
So I think I still am a, massive believer, and everyone should be, in signal flow. When I look at campaigns, I don't think of them as like campaigns. I think of them as data streams, right? And I'm trying to look at like, all right, how does this data stream look? Is it buying us the data that's going to allow the machine to optimize to the right people? And is it getting those right people? And like, you've heard me say this before, like you don't get ROAS, you create ROAS, and you create that ROAS through the data stream. And so it always starts with signal. I believe personally signal before creative, and those two go hand in hand. So when it comes to account structure, I'm thinking now, okay, one, how do we make an account structure that's able to facilitate an extremely high volume of creative that's getting rapidly iterated on at a pace that's, never been seen before in Facebook advertising or digital advertising, right? Like I'm talking like daily iterations, revisions, new concepts. Like, so how do we create a structure that supports that with enough liquidity on the budget and enough space, in the campaign stack to be able to like give everything a fair shot? So I'm really liking CBO right now. Reason being is like it kind of gives you, if you want, like one campaign, and then depending on how many product categories you have and how similar those audiences are, I'll do a different ad set for each product category on CBO. Now people will say, well, what if all your spend goes into this you know, one ad set? And it's like, yeah, that's a very big concern. So what I'll do is I'll actually put a spend minimum on each ad set, right? So let's say my budget is $20,000 a day on this campaign. I'll put a spend minimum on each ad set of $2,000. And I'll say, maybe a little higher, but I'll try to keep it even. And I'll say, all right, Meta, you have to spend at least 2,000 on each of these ads. Cause again, that to me is buying data. It's buying signal and making sure that Meta doesn't over or under index anything, and it's saying, all right, we're going to give it at least $2,000 a day. So to like test or basically force the signal to these ads. Cause we know there's things that like, I don't, Meta probably doesn't always give everything enough of a chance. But then what that does is it's $20,000 campaign budget, but $2,000 minimum on five ad sets. So that's really you're determining where 10,000 of the spend goes, and then that extra 10,000, let the algorithm decide. Okay, today this product category is doing good. Tomorrow this ad's doing good, and you let it float between those ad sets and find that efficiency. And then that's $10,000 of spend you don't need to place every morning or every night as an advertiser and try to make the human decision. That for me is working really, really good right now on certain accounts. And then you layer in another CBO campaign depending on what the objective is, right? So like one, for instance, might be like this CBO is strictly prospecting. We want to make sure that it is just going after net new people. And then, so you do all the exclusions, really just customer exclusions, stuff like that. And then the other campaign, all right, maybe retention is a pretty big part of our marketing stack. Like we need to buy customers. And so then I'll do another CBO, sometimes with different creative, but similar setup. Or on another account, like here's one similar. We actually, and this is why I felt confident to rebuild these other two large accounts. We took on a new brand in, I think it was September. And right when we took them on, or right before we took them on, their ad account got turned off for like 2 weeks. And this is a brand that was spending, 30K a day ish, $1 million a month on Meta. Ad account gets turned off. They're going through a new partnership and acquisition, this whole thing, right? And they're okay. It's kind of a reset. Their big season is actually in November. So we had to rebuild a new ad account. I did the same thing. I'm like, all right, I'm starting this ad account with my dream structure, clean slate. We're just going to scale it from the beginning. And that's exactly what I did. I started with CBO and then the top ads, which were for that offer. I actually divided by static and video in that case because there wasn't many different product verticals. And then scaled the heck out of that CBO. And then as new creative came in, I actually just put it in as new ad sets in that CBO. And then the second part I did on that account is started to test different bidding strategies. So then I said, all right, we have one CBO that's doing highest volume. Let's do the other one lowest cost, highest volume. Let's do the other one that's bidding for value. And so same thing, take the top ads, put it in that other CBO, have a bid for value, equal or similar budget, right? And so you have these two kind of objectives that are going on after really different audiences. Then I did another one, I did an ABS, amplified budget strategy. And I started layering in these different bidding strategies on these campaigns. And that worked really well to get this account to scale because we basically were having to go from zero to almost 100K a day in spend in a very short window. And like, I actually posted a picture on Twitter of like this scale up because it was a beautiful November. It was like, ended up, 1.5 million in spend, I think like almost 5 million in revenue. And it was just like, wow, if you look at like August, September to that, it's like that's like a textbook November, you know, scale up for a brand that's very gift offer heavy, high AOV. Like, so, anyways, I'm rambling, but that's kind of why I'm pretty bullish on the consolidated CBO. Give the auction as much opportunity to just deliver your ads, and then the focus of the media buyer now is really spending more time on the creative level than the ad set level, and saying, okay, why is this doing well? How can we make another version of this but slightly different? Real time, piping it over to the editors, into the creative team. Hey, can we get this static, but can you use this copy over it instead? Can we get this, this hook over this other video that has a better through play? And doing those like performance creative optimizations on the daily.
Right. So a lot of the changes now are more looking in your asset delivery sheet and figuring out how you can piece together the best creative with the best copy with different hooks, different angles, rather than
Yep.
doing like a super complex campaign structure with catalog campaigns and abandoned cart campaigns and using like this legacy mindset. And for these accounts
Yeah.
that have existed for, 2, 3 years, they have a lot of these legacy pillars in place that you leave on because, like you said, it's good enough not to kill, but if you were to build it again in 2026, you wouldn't do it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yep.
the
I think,
TLDR on account structure is a primary CBO campaign with 5 ad sets, 50% of your budget dedicated towards ad set minimums, the remaining 50%, you let the algorithm do its thing. And then depending on budget and your goals, maybe 2 other CBO campaigns, one dedicated for prospecting and then one for retargeting at a lower budget with slight variations on the creative. And then you add in the signals on each of those different campaigns to be exclusions on prospecting and then retargeting on retargeting.
yeah, exactly. And I really only, and that's not Bible, so to say, right? Like that's not, I mean, that's what's
Sure.
working on a few of our higher volume accounts right now. On the retention side, like there's a couple instances where like, or a lot of instances where I just don't run it. It's like let the owned channels sweep that up because you don't want to create a mess on your Meta machine, right? I have a huge pet peeve when brands come to me now and they're like, "Well, this page had all these site visitors, and why aren't we retargeting it?" And da da da. And it's like Meta is retargeting it. Like it's doing that, and it's on the ad level now, and in the way that it sequences. And then the other thing is like looking at like retention. It makes sense to run retention if you have a big customer file. Like if your customer file is over a few 100,000 people, then yeah, like run a little budget to retention. But if you're like trying to do retention marketing to like 20,000 folks in your customer list, like there is no better way to drive up your CPMs and get really low incrementality. Like, can you not convert 20,000 people through your email program? Can you not actually not just convert, but like, can you not reach those 20,000 people? Like, run retention on Meta when you're having trouble reaching people on your email and SMS program and on your own channels. Cause like, that's when it justifies paying to reach those people.
Yeah.
Believe me, there's enough leakage on Meta already, and I think they intentionally build that leakage in because it gives campaign signal. There's enough leakage going on Meta already with audience match rate that like those people are probably going to get hit because Meta knows who they are and they know how to get training data from that audience, even if you're telling Meta not to.
Yeah.
So
So when you're
there's
saying
yeah.
Venus, when you have a cold campaign going, it's still going to hit a lot of the people in your retargeting audience, even if you're not explicitly going for them.
Yeah, exactly. So good example, big campaigns on a beauty brand, high spend, supposed to exclude customer lists, right? Well, if we're excluding our customer list, why is our new customer percentage on Northbeam under 40% or under 50%?
Mm,
And it's like, wait a minute, like we know this campaign is not fully excluding those people. And then when you go and you look at the audience match, the audience size to your customer size in Audience Manager, you can see that like, oh, it only matched, 80% of your entire customer list. So like I actually have some hacks for increasing that match rate. They're almost too good. We've been using them on a number of accounts there because it actually forces like it tricks the matching algorithm to basically getting 100% match rate. But we've run that list a lot, and some folks out there know exactly what I'm talking about. I've actually, I think that like what I've noticed is that list is too powerful. Like it's suppressing it too well, where it's not getting any signal, which makes me then believe that maybe Meta is intentionally creating leakage in its match algorithm because it needs to acquire signal from previous customers to inform future campaigns that go and prospect. Tinfoil hat there, but if I was a Meta engineer and I have a signal problem, like I would be basically intentionally looking away at certain user records, knowing that I need those users, engagement behavior to feed my machine learning in the client's campaigns.
yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You're not the only one who thinks that and sees it. I think everybody that reaches a certain scale of spend eventually arrives at that conclusion, especially if you're approaching it from a data science perspective. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And like, and the other element is like, the thing is the way that I discovered this trick for increasing that audience match rate, it's really just the way you've formatted a CSV file. Like I got that from Meta, you know, and if Meta knows about this, why aren't they fixing it? Right?
right,
Unless
right.
it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do and only, suppressing a certain volume of people, like intentionally
Yeah.
decreasing its match rate.
Well, it goes back to the same thing on auto applying some of their creative testing features. Why would they do that on accounts if other than to maximize spend in those areas? It's like if you know the exact way to program my video cut out. Sorry. If you know the way to
You're good.
program the black box and everybody knows how to use it, then your spend becomes really efficient. It's the
Yeah.
same. We had this conversation before. It's like if you're pricing a service based on ROAS or based on performance, you're actually incentivized to have better performance. But if you're pricing it based on spend, you're incentivized to have lower performance. Like, why do all of the
Hmm.
top spending accounts all have, the same 2-3% margin? Well, it's because
Yeah.
Meta, Google, all the ad platforms have complete visibility into your margin because all the data is linked through your data stream.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They know exactly what your profit margins are. on Shopify.
And they know what
So
you
they
would be willing to spend to just, yeah,
to keep
anyway,
the
sorry, I keep
engine
cutting you
going.
off.
Yeah. No, no, no,
Exactly.
no. You're exactly right. We've talked about that a lot. It's like, yeah, I mean, let me go do business with somebody and let's just give them an open book to exactly what our costs, our margins are, and then just tell them, hey, like, here, like, give us a deal that works within this. That's exactly what we're all doing. It's like, you know, it's
Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly it. But there's no alternative.
yeah, exactly. It's like, what else are we all supposed to do except go to Amazon, and then it's just a type of different type of partnership, if that's what we can
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm
Cool.
not sure what's going on with my camera here. Well, yeah, that's really interesting. At least the account rebuilds worked properly, and you were able to get these high spending accounts back to scale. Maybe, 1 or 2 days late, but at least you got your 2026 rebuild done on these multi-million dollar spending accounts.
Yeah, exactly. We're at least going to be humming for a bit, and hopefully the holidays treats us well. And next year, we'll probably be more of a creative agency than we've ever been.
Yeah, well, that's the name of the game. Creative is
Yeah,
king, creative is queen. It's,
it's true.
yeah, it's the most important variable. Cool. Well, thanks so much
Absolutely.
for your time today. That was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Good chatting.
All right, talk next week.
Sounds good.